Well, yesterday I did think, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to go outside and draw, do some nature, maybe paint some of my sheep, because that's just what happens in New Zealand. Oh, they've seen me. Hey, Charlie! But no, as you can see, it is raining, and while that doesn't bother my little babies, it will bother my paper, as it is bothering my dog. Poor Luna. Yes, you. Hello. But yeah, we'll leave the sheep to the rain. I'll figure something else out to do. Hey guys, and welcome back. So as you can tell, I've had rubbish weather in my neck of the woods, but that's okay. Thankfully indoors the rain can't touch us. So I'm working on a small project at the moment where, because I've been doing so much story planning and work towards my kind of larger comic, I want to do some practice on actual paneling and composition and timing of a comic. Blah. But in order to do that, I wanted to practice with like a mini comic so that when I start my real one, I can actually approach it with some confidence. As you can tell, even talking about it, I'm a bit lost because I'm like, I've never really stuck to a comic. I've never done like small strip comics and whatnot. I've done the odd, maybe like 4 or 5 square boxes that have a continuous theme, but I've never really stuck to it. So I wanted to try and do a small comic where I can practice those things and then pretend I know what I'm doing when I get to my real one. So I ended up staying up and writing a story about a witch, but she is a witch without powers. Her name is Millie, and she comes from a long line of powerful witches. But she is the kind of one in a million that was born with no such ability. But while she can't conjure magic herself, she can... How do I explain it? She's like a conduit for magic, so magic can flow through her, it's just not hers. And as such, her family has gifted her a magic jack-o'-lantern as like a guardian and mentor. And she can kind of use magic, but through the jack-o'-lantern. And the jack-o'-lantern's name is Joel. I don't actually draw them at all, but they're a sassy little magic pot, and they live in her house/shop. And so Millie has a flower shop where she's growing flowers and making bouquets and whatnot for the locals, but she's also providing herbs to the local magic folk. And so she has a very good repertoire with both the magical and non-magical beings in that town, because she's kind of the in-between and she's using that to the best of her ability. And so as you can kind of see, I start, when I'm doing character stuff, I have like the idea of Millie's personality and what she does and whatnot, and then I just use this little chibi style to kind of thumbnail out ideas. And these first couple pages I do without looking at anything. It's kind of like when I voice these over, it's a bit of word vomit. You just throw everything out there and hope that something sticks. So I do that, and then I kind of decided, well, I'm going to throw together a character and see how that's like, and then once I've kind of picked out the elements that I really like or what I definitely want to change, then I go back with references, and then I refine what I'm trying to make, which I find kind of helpful, because sometimes if I start with references, I get bogged down because there's just so much to look at. And if I haven't narrowed down my targets, I will like just go off and start randomly drawing everything that I like the look of, and then I get to the end of the day and I still don't have a character, but I have a bunch of lovely sketches. So it's not necessarily a lose-lose situation, but yeah. But I did find when I was sketching this one out, like by the end of it, I definitely knew, yes, I wanted to have short hair. Yes, I wanted to have a dress, but while I was sketching this one, I wasn't quite happy with how the sketch was looking, and so I put in a bouquet of flowers to try and distract, because I was like, oh, it'll make it more interesting. But then I didn't use references for any of that, and they don't even look like flowers. I don't know what she's carrying. But yeah, so now that I was able to take the elements that I wanted, like her short hair and the dress, I flicked up Pinterest and I started searching for those things. And this process doesn't take quite as long because I can kind of look at the references at this point and be like, oh yeah, this is nice, but it's not for this character. And so I only had to do a couple of head sketches, few, that's not a couple. And then I had a look at some different dresses, and I initially just started looking at witch aesthetic dresses, and then I kind of thought that's not quite right, because while she is a witch, she has more time with the common folk than in actual magical scenarios, and any magical scenarios is like simple mundane magic around the house or to help with flowers, which actually comes from the jack-o'-lantern. So it just didn't quite make sense to me, so I ended up going with a dress that kind of, for me, blended both the kind of magical. And we're back. I think I'm not sure what I was talking about, but that is fine, because I am now moving on to what I think is the final design for Millie. So yeah, you see already too, I actually looked up a model for, even though it's a simple pose, like it's a different body shape to what I'm used to drawing, because as I have same face syndrome, I also have same body syndrome with very little variance. So you can see that there's, oh, I've been put off by having a cup of tea. Need to get back with this. Okay, but yeah, so I used a reference for the pose and for the clothes and for the hair and kind of the face, I guess. This model was just perfect for what I'm envisaging Millie as, so this has been it was just a really good place to start for me. And then I can apply the clothes and the hair from the other references. And yeah, so yeah, you can see I was a lot more comfortable drawing this pose. I didn't have to keep stopping or like slowly going over things to, I don't know, give myself time to think of where I was taking it. It just fit so much nicer. And I didn't have to draw in a bouquet and be like, yes, look at this, because it's crappier than the actual picture that the character that I'm working on. Oh, one thing that did put me off a little bit, well, and took me by surprise, was the hair. Like, it's so nice and it's so simple, but I drew it the opposite way than the model was looking, so I was kind of like, and just made it up, which was fun. And yeah, I found some really cool boots. The boots are so nice. I want them, but that's a not a now time story, I guess. So yeah, so I was able to just like whip this character out, and drawing this was a lot more comfortable because this is more how I see this character. And it just worked. Which is, I don't know, sometimes when character designs just work, I'm like, this is strange, but I'm really happy. And to make me even happier, I had gone and bought a compass so I could actually do proper circles, which was really nice. It was a good time. What was not a good time, however, is that, in a wee bit you will see, my camera turned off. I'm not quite sure why. It still had battery, it still had space, but while I was fluffing around, and boom, everything was lost. And so here you see the first design that I kind of came up with, and now you'll see a coloured finished design of Millie, which all the progress of the colouring is lost, which was really sad because the actual white outline around it, as you can see, is not like white popping. And not only did I use the high gloss pastel gel pen things, but I used a Posca pen as well, and both of them were just absorbed by the paper, and I let it dry, I waited, I came back, and that's when I realized that my camera wasn't working, which was great. But when I went back over with the Posca pen, it actually just tore the paper, and so that was as white as I could get it. Since I am working on this, and there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff happening, I thought this might be a good time to plug the fact that I have made a Patreon. And it's just a low-key Patreon just so I can get some more... It's another way of sharing stuff, I guess, but it's also a way that I can support myself in getting a bit more art supplies. Because as we are all very aware of at this point, most of what my town has is Faber-Castell, which while it's not a bad thing, I love Faber-Castell, it would be, I don't know, I'd be able to justify actually buying some higher quality stuff from, like, outsourcing, I guess. So yeah, if you're interested at all, I would appreciate any support. But if not, just keep watching my channel, because I'll still be posting stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please check out my Instagram or my Patreon or both. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, bye!